Hey guys, and welcome to this video. I'm going to share some messages from a channeling I did last week. And I do have some notes in front of me because when I go into a trance channel, I typically don't remember much afterwards. So I've been re-listening to the recording a couple of times and I do have some notes. So I will be looking a bit on those. Always remember that with channeled messages as well, it is a perspective. This energy was to me a new energy to channel. Came in very suddenly, very unexpected, very clear message. And I think it's something that is important for us to really open our minds to and really take a look at ourselves when it comes to sort of the core message in this. I've been talking a bit about some of these things before, but this was put in a bit of a different perspective, and I think it's important to share it. So it's about the separation that is caused by the awakened community. And I think it's very, very important that we take a look at this, that we see our own programs and that we see how we attach to ideas that actually are programs, and that we have the courage and the bravery to actually realize these things and to deprogram ourselves and to step further into alignment, because that's what we do over and over again. When it's about things that we are maybe at times overly identified with, and especially when it comes to the better than or worse than, we are really attaching to those ideas because it's so deeply ingrained and we are sort of enmeshed or entangled with it, because it makes us feel good and it makes us feel like we are something or special or important, or those programs are maybe the most difficult programs to look at, to realize and admit, and to actually start deprogramming. And this is one of those programs that is sort of the core message in this, that a lot of the spiritual community hold, that actually are causing further separation. So what was said in the beginning of the channeling was that we are in times of great changes, which we all know, and that the new frequencies are brought in by the children, that those that has walked first have had sort of the mission to start to deprogram, to sort of break down the old programs so that the new frequency can actually come in. And these children are children that are or will be coming in and that have been coming in. And these are children that are walking in remembrance, because that's what it's all about, to remember who we really are. They do not adjust to programs because they do not adapt to the old frequency. And I think this is something we know quite a bit of. Then it was mentioned that there are many people that are asking now, that are things delayed? Why aren't things changing more? Why are things just keeping getting more intense? And what was said was that it's a quote-unquote long preparation period for the change, or for us to actually see the shift and be coming through the shift. So you can see almost like the shift is happening, but it takes time because there must be a preparation for it actually to turn. This preparation is also for not creating cognitive dissonance in the vast majority of people. So the more is happening, the more is unfolding. One perspective to look at it from as well is that this allows for more people to awaken and start to remember who they are, to start to see what's going on, and start to realize these things. And they said also that there are a lot of people that have soul contracts of awakening at a later point and some on a more early point. Those that are on a later point, remember that that is evoking further awakening too. Because that, you know, how can I explain this? That it's happening on different timelines makes it so that the energy sort of affects people on different at different times on their timelines, and so people have in their contracts they have chosen to awaken on a later point, because that also will evoke further awakening in other people. And then what was said, that there is this message to be held, spoken and embodied for not creating further separation, which is this attachment to the better and worse then, and seeing being awakened, the whole idea of being awakened, as something better than, because that's the egoic mind attaching to a program of being better. So if we start attaching to being better than as an identity structure, and having the attachment to that program of being better than, we are creating separation. Are you following me? I hope so. So what I said is that the quote-unquote awakened is kindly being asked to deprogram the structure, the egoic structure of the attachment, to being better than those that are not quote-unquote awakened. It said that when fully awakened, you do not need to identify with something that separates you from something else. That's the new frequency. Because in the third dimensional reality that we live in, we understand ourselves in terms of what we are not as well. So we use the separation, we use the distinctions in the world around us as a way to understand who we are. What is now happening is that we are understanding that we are so much more than only the distinction to what we are not in our physical immediate reality. And so we also need to sort of take up with the roots all these structures of identity that are built on the understanding of separation and distinctions, because it cannot come with us into higher frequencies. They're telling me to pause so that you can just let it soak in, sink in a bit. When we hold this and we hold this new frequency, and we understand that we can be something, that we are everything basically, we are nothing and we are everything, and we can walk in that frequency, we are not bringing our focus so much to the external in order for understanding ourselves, which means that we are bringing also more energy back into ourselves, and we have more energy to create with. We are also more centered in our own energy, and by that we are being less affected by others, because we are not attaching our identity in a comparison to someone else or something else outside of us. We simply are, and we walk in that beingness. Then we start emitting more of the frequency that of who we really are. We start emitting the frequency, because what we really are is a frequency. We are energy in a physical body. And so the more of this frequency that we can just be without needing to hold the identity of a comparison or the structure that the program has given us in order for us to have an understanding of ourselves as we walk around in our immediate physical reality. When we are in that frequency and we start emitting that out, that is what will evoke further remembrance, because that's really what it is. What we call awakening is really a remembrance of who we are. So as the more we are emitting of this outside, like out from our bodies, the more that will evoke remembrance in others, and the less affected we will be by others as well. So they mentioned in the channeling as well that those that identify or label themselves as empaths, and many often feel a bit victimized by that, or feel a bit like a victim, because oh my goodness, I'm taking in all these energies from everyone around me. I feel all these emotions, the thoughts of everyone around me, and it can be overwhelming at times. The more we come into ourselves, and the more we sort of detach and we deprogram, and we really see this, that as we have been doing that, also we might be grabbing even harder to the identity of, but now I'm awakened, now I'm one of those that are walking around awake, and I'm going to wake up everyone around me, and attaching to that as something better than something else, then we are still caught in the program. Then we are still walking in separation. Then we are still walking in that energy. And then we are also, as long as we are holding the understanding of ourselves from a lower frequency of needing to identify within the structure of a program, then we are much more easily also affected by others, because we cannot rise above it. So the more we are just standing in the frequency of who we are, just in the beingness, in the energy, with whatever that present moment of beingness holds, then you're much less affected by what's happening around you as well. The egoic structure of the programs, or the program mind in the quote-unquote awakened community needs to evaporate, is what I said. And I said, look the egoic structure of identity in the eyes. Have the courage and bravery to really do that. To see where we are attaching to ideas of being better than, which then causes further separation. To see that every stage sort of that someone is at is something they're growing from, and just hold the acceptance and have our attention and our focus in the present moment and on our own energy. And then when we walk in that remembrance, that is what evokes remembrance in others as well. What will be happening in the external the coming months, they said, is remember that that the events sort of that will take place are happening to create further separation. So if we accept the invitation to go into a further separation, no matter which side we are on, we are really accepting what they are offering us, in a sense. This does not mean that you're not going to have opinions, that you're not going to speak your truth. Those are two very different things. You can speak your truth and you can have your opinions, and you're going to walk and be your truth. Not abandon yourself. This is really important. Make your choices that are true to you. Stay in alignment with you. But you can do that, and you can stand in that energy without needing to make everyone else wrong, that are not having the same opinion or perspective as you. Because that's where we start creating further separation. I hope you're following me now. I'm trying to read my own notes here. Yes, don't tell people that they are wrong. Show the truth by being. Show remembrance by remembering yourself and walking in that. And give people space for them to remember. And then there was given an example, which I think was quite good. They said a lot of people can relate to this because when they were at school, having to learn by memory, having to, like the whole way things worked at school, and it was like, right now you're going to do this and it's going to be done in this way, or that whole energy. They said that it's nothing that opens for feeling creative and free. So for example, people that are very creative or are free in that creative energy, it's not necessarily when they're being told to, like, go sit down there, be creative right now. It is something that needs to have the space to arise and to be allowed. And remember that when you think of others as well, don't use the program, the old program that were used at school, in order to go and try to awaken others. Give them space to remember. Don't go and try to convince them of your truth. Those are two very different things. One thing is allowing, is opening, is walking in your truth, standing in your truth and walking in that beingness as much as you can. Then people will, they explain that what happens is the field and the DNA, it's like when you stand in that energy and you walk in that energy, that will start to evoke almost like sparks in others of remembrance, and they will start remembering. If you go and you try to force someone to awaken, to convince them to think the way you do, you're not really giving them the space and allowing them to start remembering, because the remembrance comes from within. And the same with the I think many of us are experiencing that we are not remembering the same way we did, in the sense of learning by memory, by remembering like things in the physical. And I said that this is why, because we're starting to work by frequency, and then it's sort of, you are just activating the memory that you will need in the moment when you need it, and you don't need to go in the program of having learned it by memory. And you don't evoke remembrance in others by using an old program. So I think these were some really, really important points for us in the coming months, because also as things intensifies in the external, and we might get triggered with fear, with chaos, with confusion, don't know what to do, we will meet, we will have some choice points. We will need to make choices for ourselves. And in those situations, it's so easy, because if we are sort of, being destabilized a little bit, it's so easy to start looking outside, or because we are afraid ourselves, to try to make others be on the same page as us, or be angry at others because they don't see it the same way as you. And if we can really try to remember as much as we can that is actually only causing further separation, and what is happening is that we are starting to remember. I think we will walk through it in a better way, absolutely. So these were the messages from that channeling. I hope it's helpful for you. Please share it if it resonates, and I always love to hear your comments. I really appreciate those that comment and take the time to do that. I will see you in the next video, and thank you so much for being here. Bye bye.